I hope y'all ready for this. We are live. It is on. I'm gonna give people some time to check in, come into the room. I'm gonna take a sip of this water right here. Hopefully this will last me through the live. As y'all are checking in, if you do not know the routine, if you do not know the process, leave a comment. Tell me your name and location in the comment section. Tell me your name and location in the comment section as you are checking in, and we're going to get into what we need to get into here today. We have some important things that we need to discuss. So as you are checking in, if you're watching this on replay, then you can tell your name and location too, but I'm really talking to the live people here. So everybody who's watching live, shout yourselves out in the comment section right now. We got Birmingham is in the house. You didn't say your name though, so I'm guessing that's Ashton. What's going on, Ashton? Let me put the link to the third day in here, and that will be thirddaybook.com. Let me grab that. Spencer might know my sister Philly. What does that mean, Spencer? Is that your name? Is that your middle name? I don't. You might have twisted me up a little bit with that one, Spencer. So as y'all checking in, again, shout yourselves out in the comment section. I just pinned the thirddaybook.com. That's the link where you can get your free copy of this book right here, paperback version. You can get the hardback if you want. You can get an autographed copy of the book if you want. All of those are available. We got Fabio in the house from Miami. I saw somebody else in there. Heather from Vegas. Shout out to Vegas. I ain't been to Vegas since, well, last time I was there was in June. It was so hot, it was crazy. I say that every time now somebody brings up Vegas. So I'm gonna give everybody like 30 seconds to check in. Then we're gonna get started. The topic here today, y'all see what the topic is. We got to talk about this. This is something that needs to be discussed. I'm finding that there's a void in the marketplace. I heard there's a void out there in the world when it comes to this subject. So I'm taking it upon myself to address it. And I also got a live event coming up soon, which is Work on Your Game Live. That is happening in January of next year. 2-day event down here in Miami with me teaching the entire thing. Any of you who's interested in joining me for a live event, I'm talking, we going deep. I mean, so the book, you can start with the book, but you ready to go deep, then you got to come to the live event and be in the room. I mean, physically in the room here in Miami when I'm going to be teaching Work on Your Game Live. That is going to be on 2 topics, leadership and communication. That is in January, this upcoming January. So anyway, we're going to get started right now. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete. I'm the author of 29 books. This is my newest book. It's called The Third Day. You can get a free copy of this book by going to the link that you see right there in my pinned comment. And I created this whole brand, this whole philosophy called Work on Your Game. Work on Your Game is all about taking the mental tools to help you get to the top 1% in the sports world and translating those tools all the way over to the business world and into everyday life. Grice checking in from Jersey. Shout out to Jersey. Jersey's in the house. And the ways that I do that, I disseminate this game in many different ways. One way is live streaming. Another way is professional speaking. I've done TED Talks. I do my own live events. I just told you I'm doing one in January down here in Miami. I write books, which you know about. I got YouTube videos, a whole bunch of them. This video will be on YouTube. I use social media, of course. We are on social media right now. I do blogging. I have a podcast. I call mine a masterclass. Comes out every single day. It is called Work on Your Game. It's on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud. Look it up. It's easy to find. It's called Work on Your Game. Andy checking in from Cali was good. And this topic right here. And first of all, let me back up. What Work on Your Game is about. Now, I gave you the overall picture of what Work on Your Game is about. But really what Work on Your Game is about is giving people the game. And the game is the game no matter what direction it takes us, no matter who needs to be criticized, no matter who needs to be held accountable, no matter what direction is going to go, the game is always the game. Okay, so the common denominator, all right, the judge of everything that we do out here is the game. And that game could be the sports game, the relationship game, the communication game, the business game, the social game. And today we're talking about the critical thinking game. All right, so that's the topic here today. We're going to be talking about critical thinking. And I'm going to give everybody a introduction to this concept of critical thinking. The challenge with critical thinking, the reason why I'm even talking about this is because it appears there's not too much critical thinking going on these days in the world. Now, I don't know how much any of you follow, what goes on, current events and things like that. I don't follow too much of it. I use Twitter. That's where I get my, up to date what's going on. And I follow people on all different sides of the spectrum of conversations just so I get at least as balanced as I can look at what's going on. Some of y'all might have heard about the Nicki Minaj situation that happened this week. So Nicki Minaj was allegedly, she was going to go to the Met Gala. She didn't go. And she tweeted that she knew somebody who got the vaccine. Then they had some adverse reaction. Let's just say that. They had an adverse physical reaction to getting the vaccine. And then Nicki Minaj, some people, of course, the people on the far left side of things start attacking Nicki Minaj. You're wrong. You're using your platform, give people misinformation, et cetera, et cetera. And they left out the context. And Nicki Minaj even said a couple posts later, she was saying, well, I'm probably going to get the vaccine anyway because I got a tour and all that stuff. Whatever. That's not even the point. The point was she said, my reason for not getting the vaccine is she offered let's just assume it's a valid reason. Let's assume she wasn't telling a lie. She didn't just make that up just to say it, that she knows somebody who had an adverse effect from getting the vaccine. And then a bunch of people started attacking her and saying, well, you're wrong for spreading this misinformation. And then Tucker Carlson, who's on Fox News, he has a very popular show. He might be the most popular talk show person in TV right now. He said some things in support of Nicki Minaj. Now, I think Tucker Carlson might even have, maybe he's gotten the vaccine for himself or something that had nothing to do with him. But he said some things in support of Nicki Minaj. Like, listen, somebody wants to get their own information and make sure that they are safe to get what they're going to get. There's nothing wrong with that. And then some people, of course, attack Tucker Carlson. So you're a white nationalist, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist, etc. Nicki Minaj retweeted whatever he had posted. And then people got mad at her, like, yo, don't you know that guy's a racist? Don't you know he's a white Republican? Don't you know he's a MAGA Trump supporter? Things like that. And Nicki Minaj posted, and this is the thing that got me thinking about what we're going to talk about here today. She was saying, oh, so just because, even if he is, she didn't even argue the point. So it's not even about whether he is or he's not. And she said, well, look, even if he is a Republican, white supremacist, white knight, whatever you saying he is that makes him quote unquote wrong, does that mean I can't listen to anything that he says? Does that mean everything that he says I have to immediately discount it because he has some other opinion that has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now? But if somebody who's a Democrat, for example, says something, you're just supposed to go along with it just because they told you that. And the thing that I know to be true, and Nicki Minaj touched on this, she's not the first, nor will she be the last, that a whole lot of people, and I'm talking people who are highly influential, people who are, I guess you can call them famous individuals or celebrity individuals, they have some of the same ideas that Nicki has been espousing now, that she's been talking about because she's been brought to the forefront because of what she said. But they won't say them out loud. And they won't say them out loud for several reasons. And the challenge with that is because you have so many people offering the same opinions, all on the same side of things on any social media platform. I'm even putting myself at risk by even talking about this right here on this platform, is that it's almost as if, not almost as if, let me take that almost out. It is that people don't want to see different sides of a conversation. There's only one way to look at things. There's only one view that you can have, one opinion you can have, at least if you're going to express it outwardly, lest you get attacked, canceled, told that you're wrong. Somebody's going to try to dress you down on their TV show or on their Twitter and try to clap back at you and slam dunk at you. Critical thinking is being discouraged. And this goes way back to what should have happened in our educational system for everybody. In school, the purpose of you going to school, of course, you're going to learn the basics like reading, writing, and arithmetic, those kind of stuff. But the other thing that you're supposed to learn in school, there's just one other thing. It's not science, it's not history, it's not chemistry, it's not gym class, it's none of those things, is that school is supposed to teach you how to think. Not what to think, it's supposed to teach you how to think. Your teachers are not supposed to tell you this is the way that you should look at history. No teacher is supposed to tell you that. This is the way that you should see things. This is how you should feel about certain things that occur. And they shouldn't even be trying to push you or encourage you to look at things a certain way. Their only job, the job of an educator, is to bring outside what is already within you, which is challenging you to think for yourself. Because the human brain is the most powerful tool known to man. It's more powerful than any machine, more powerful than any big building, more powerful than any amount of money, because all of those things were created by somebody's idea. So your job, each one of you, I don't care if you're in school or not, even if you didn't go to school, your job is to learn how to think and arm yourself with a key skill that we're going to talk about here today. It's called critical thinking. Critical thinking is defined. I went and got the definition from this website called study.com. Critical thinking means making reasoned judgments that are logical and well thought out. It is a way of thinking in which you don't simply accept all arguments and conclusions that you are exposed to, but rather have an attitude involving questioning such arguments and conclusions. Key word, questioning arguments and conclusions. It requires wanting to see what evidence is involved to support a particular argument or conclusion. People who use critical thinking are ones who say things such as, how do you know that? That is a critical thinking question. Is this conclusion based on evidence or gut feelings? That's another critical thinking question. And they ask things like, are there alternative possibilities when given new pieces of information? Another critical thinking question. So this is critical thinking, close quotes. I'm out of the definition right now. Critical thinkers, just from that definition, are people who are willing to ask questions. They do not just accept anything that they are given on the surface, no matter who said it. Even if your mom or dad said it, your best friend said it, the president said it, some quote unquote scientist said it, somebody with a whole bunch of followers on social media said it, somebody that you like said it, somebody that you hate said it. If somebody that you like says something does not necessarily mean that it's true. And if someone that you hate says something does not necessarily mean that it's false. A critical thinker understands this, whereas people who are sheep in the mind, like human beings, you know what I mean when I say sheep? People who just follow the crowd and don't even think for themselves, they just do what everybody else is doing. Those type of people, if they hear something from somebody that they have been taught to not like, someone they've been taught to disagree with, anything they say, we're just going to dismiss it because I don't like that person, or I'm not supposed to like them. Or anybody that you do like, anything they say, you're just going to go along with it. And if someone that you like does something wrong, you find a way to excuse it just because you're a fan of that person. All right, that makes no sense. Or you find a way to condemn anything that someone who you don't like does because you've been trained and conditioned to negate anything that that person does. This is a lack of critical thinking. And this is not something that just started because we had a pandemic that started a year and a half ago. It didn't start with the pandemic. There's been a dearth of critical thinking in our whole world, not just in America, but in the whole world for a long time. It just took the pandemic to bring it out of everybody. Right? It wasn't the pandemic that started the lack of critical thinking. It's the lack of critical thinking got exposed by the pandemic. Just like in the sports world, they say sports do not build character, they reveal character. So what we're going to talk about here today is this concept of critical thinking. The first thing I'm going to tell you is, I'm going to tell you how to be a critical thinker, and then I'm going to go over some aspects and some attributes of critical thinkers so that you'll be able to check yourself and you'll know if you're a critical thinker or not. And at the end of this, I will answer all questions. So if you have a question or comment on anything that I say while I'm speaking, go ahead and post it in the comment, and I will go through and respond to all the comments at the end of this live stream, as long as there's not too many of them. So what we're talking about is how to be a critical thinker. First thing, before I even get into the points, is a quote from Aristotle. Aristotle said, "It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it." That means you can listen to what somebody else has to say, understand what they say, appreciate what they had to say, but at the same time, you don't have to agree with it, but you have to be willing to listen, because a critical thinker needs to take in all the information from different sides of a conversation before they can come to a conclusion. See, what makes people become dumb in life is not that they don't have any information, it's that they only have one piece of information or one side or one angle on information. So they think that they're informed when in fact they're missing a whole lot of pieces, but because they never ask the question, what am I missing here? What is not being told to me? What am I not being shown? What am I not seeing? Then they think they're informed because they're not even aware they're missing anything. You understand what I'm saying? It's kind of like somebody's born in New York and they never leave New York. The only place they go in their whole lives is just New York. Everywhere they go, New York. They never leave the state, never leave the city, never leave the country. They're completely unaware that anything outside of New York exists. So they think that they're completely informed about the world when in actuality they only know one city, the place that they are. And it seems pretty silly nowadays because we have phones and we can see everything. But the metaphor that I'm trying to give you here is this is how people are when they lack critical thinking skills. It's not that they don't have any information. It's just they have a piece of it and they think they have everything, but they're not even unaware that there's a lot more to everything than what they know. That's what I mean when I say lack of critical thinking. So let's get into our points here. Number one trait of a critical thinker, number one trait of a critical thinking person is curiosity. Everybody knows what curiosity means, right? Curiosity means a person who is they're asking questions. They want to know things. They are always asking, how do you know? How did you get that information? Or how did you come to that conclusion? How do you know that that's true? All right, why are you repeating that? Do you have all the information to even make that conclusion? I'm that type of person who is always questioning people's stuff. Any of you who's ever known me or get to know me in person, you'll know that when you give me a piece of information, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, how do you know that that's true? All right. How do you know that that is factually accurate? You're repeating something that somebody told you, or that maybe that you read on the internet, maybe you heard it on the news, maybe you learned it in school, quote unquote. How do you know it's true though? Just because somebody said it doesn't mean it is true. How do you know that that is factually accurate? How do you know? How'd you get that information? Or somebody tells me that they know something based on their experience of life. This is lived experience. That's a new phrase people are using now to defend something, even when they say something that doesn't make any sense. So I'll ask them, okay, that's your lived experience, but does that mean that it applies to everything? I knew this person once, she was saying, well, I know that all guys think like this. And she was saying this, and she was very confident in what she was saying. She wasn't being sarcastic. And I'm like, well, how do you know all guys think like that? And she was like, because every guy that I know, they did this, or they had this thought pattern, or they said this. And I'm like, well, you don't know every guy in the world. How are you getting to this conclusion? She started to get frustrated with me. She started to get annoyed with me because I was questioning her conclusion. And I'm like, well, you can't draw a conclusion about 8 billion people based on your experience with 20 different people. Like that is a lack of critical thinking. But critical thinkers are willing to question. They are always curious. They want to know where people get their information from. They want to know what your source is, and they want to dig deep into any conclusion that people are drawing. I'll give you another example from a guy by the name of Socrates. Socrates he heard, and this is back in Greece, way back in the day. Socrates heard that he was allegedly the smartest man that everyone knew. He was the smartest person in Greece. And he didn't believe it. Or was it Rome? I don't know. I think it was Greece. It doesn't even matter. But Socrates heard that people said he was the smartest guy out there. And Socrates didn't believe it. He's like, man, I don't think I'm the smartest person out there. I think a lot of people know more than me. So Socrates went on a mission to prove that he was not the smartest man. So he started finding scholars and people who are very learned individuals and asking them questions and trying to prove that one of them was smarter than he. And to his dismay, what he found out was that every person that he talked to, they had all these very hard conclusions and hard beliefs about the world that they had not proven, that they did not have any evidence to back up, but they just had these beliefs like, this is just what I know to be true. Well, how do you know? And Socrates would ask the question, how do you know that to be true? They couldn't answer the question. So Socrates was dismayed when he found out that maybe, you know what, maybe I am the smartest man in the world. And the thing that made Socrates smart, check this out, was that he believed that he knew absolutely nothing. This was Socrates' his assertion. I don't know anything. That's why I'm always asking questions. See, people, when you ask somebody a question, that's because you're asking them to inform you. This is what made Socrates smart, that he was always willing to ask the question. He was perpetually ignorant. The definition of ignorant means not to know. All right, and ignorant is not necessarily a bad thing. If you don't know something about a topic, then you are ignorant. Your job then is to go get informed, go get the information, get educated, as people like to say. But the actual definition of education is to bring things out of people, not to put something into someone, which again is another point that I made earlier, and we'll get to that. We'll come back to that in a moment. And this is why we have the Socratic Method. Any of you ever heard of the Socratic Method? It's when you are helping somebody out, not by giving them the answers, but by asking them questions. So it's kind of like a basketball player comes to me and they say, as a matter of fact, this just happened today. Somebody texted me today. I got a free text line, matter of fact. Any of you want to get my daily motivations, just text me at 305-384-6894. This basketball player texted me today, and he was saying, well, Dre, I need to talk to an agent because this team wants to sign me overseas. And I start asking him questions, and I'm like, well, what's going on? He tells me that the team offered to sign him, but they asked him to pay a visa fee. And as soon as he said that, I knew it was a red flag that he might have got scammed out of his money. So I started asking him questions. I'm like, well, who's the team? All right, what did they say to you? Who's the person that you sent the money to for the visa? Who's the person what's the name of the team? What's the name of the coach? What league are they playing in? I start asking question after question after question. He's giving me more information. And then I'm finding out, I'm even looking up the information that he's giving me, and I knew within 2 seconds they scammed him out of his money. Hopefully it wasn't too much money. But the whole point is, my way of helping him out was really through asking him question after question after question. And as he answered the questions, he could probably tell the same thing I already knew, was that he probably got scammed. But I wasn't going to just give him the information because he might not have been willing to accept it if I said it, because he doesn't know me personally. And maybe he sees me as a knowledgeable person. But when someone else comes to their own conclusion, they will believe that information much more than anything that you give them. This is what education means. And this is why the Socratic Method is the Socratic Method. It's not that you need to go tell people, hey, listen to me, I got all the information, just take it from me. The better way is to ask them questions and let them answer, because words that a person says to themselves matters 100 times more than words that I say to you or words that you say to another individual. This is why the Socratic Method works the way that it does. So, curiosity. People who are critical thinkers are always asking the question, why? They're the type of people who will get various sides to a point, to an argument, before they form a conclusion. All right, they don't commit to a decision on anything until they get all the information. So any of you who's a big user of social media, let me just give you a hint. As soon as you hear about something on social media, you know you don't have all the information. All right, you got 15 seconds or 30 seconds or 2 minutes worth or the tweet length or the headline of information. Next time somebody shows you a headline of a story to prove a point, don't go off the headline. Go find the story and read the article. Read the story before you come to a conclusion. That's a simple way that you can get more information. That'll put you ahead of 90% of the population who wants to draw a conclusion and be the first person to say something, but they only have all the information. So usually the person talking first usually is the least informed person in the room, and the person talking the most is often one of the least informed people in the room. A critical thinker is always asking what's the inverse of a point of view. This is something that also gets people annoyed with me when they give me some information they really believe in, and I say, well, what about the other side of that conversation? What if somebody thought the opposite of that? What if someone didn't have that opinion, but they had a different opinion? Is that possible? How can somebody see this differently? And the critical thinkers are willing to deal with this, and critical thinkers love to be asked questions like that so they can address all sides of a conversation. Whereas people who are not critical thinkers, they get annoyed when somebody asks them a question like that. So always be willing to ask questions. Critical thinkers ask questions to a fault. If you're the type of person that people get mad at you because you're always asking questions, then that's a good sign that you're probably close to or already are a critical thinker. A good teacher, any of you who's a teacher, any of you who's in the education world, even people like myself who write books and you're sharing your intellectual property. Of course, we give out information, but at the same time, you want to challenge your students, your clients, your listeners to question you. If I put some information out, listen, I wrote this book right here. If there's something in this book that you have a question about or something that you're unsure of and you don't know what I mean by that, or maybe you have a different perspective from what I said in this book, bring it to me. Tell me how you might see something differently from how I wrote it in this book. Now, hopefully you agree with everything that I said, right? That will serve my ego. But if you don't, I want to know about it, because critical thinkers like to be questioned. A critical thinker is not necessary. And let me back up. A smart person is not necessarily someone who has all the answers. Again, a smart person is a person who will supply you with the right questions so that you can go and get your own information. It is not about having the answers, it's about having the questions. A good teacher encourages people to challenge what they say and will engage with you when you challenge them. And this is the thing that got me thinking when I saw the Nicki Minaj situation, is that she challenged the idea that her being a black celebrity, she's supposed to go along with everything that a certain side of a conversation says. And as soon as she didn't do that, they all just came at her. Like, we all saw this, right? Everybody saw that this happened. And when she started challenging their points, all of a sudden everything got disturbed. A good teacher wants to be challenged, and they will answer you because there's substance behind what they said. So if you challenge me on something that I wrote in this book, I'm good with that. You know why? Because there's substance behind every single word in this book. So if you challenge me on it, all you're doing is providing me an opportunity to prove how much substance I have, because there's nothing in this book that's any garbage. All right, this is all full of substance. So I want you to challenge me because it gives me a chance to show off. You understand what I'm saying? Now, if someone has no substance and you start questioning them, they get angry with you. They get mad at you. They try to shut you up and try to shut you down. They try to tell you that you're wrong for even asking a question. Why? Because there's no substance behind what they said in the first place. So they don't want to be questioned, because the more they get questioned, the more they might expose the BS behind what they're saying in the first place. A critical thinker wants to be questioned because a critical thinker is a person of substance. People who have no substance hate being questioned because that means they're going to be exposed. The more they have to answer questions, the more likely they're going to be exposed. All right, this is why people who are guilty don't like to take the stand when they go to court, because if you keep asking them questions, eventually the truth is going to come out. Y'all follow me? Point number 2. We are talking here today, critical thinking 101, just a basic masterclass on critical thinking. Critical thinkers, point number 2, are skeptical individuals. They are trained skeptics, or they are learned skeptics. You don't have to be trained, but you are a learned skeptic. What does it mean to be skeptical? It means everything that's presented to you, you do not accept it on face value. Don't accept it at face value. Do not accept anything you see on the surface. Many of you have probably heard the saying, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. What does that mean? It means be skeptical of everything that's shown to you, everything that's put in front of your face, everything that you are told. Just because, again, a famous person, a person you know, love, and trust, a school teacher, a person in authority, whoever, just because someone with status tells you something does not mean you should accept it. It does not mean that it's true. It does not mean that it's something that you need to do just because they said it. And oftentimes they might not even be doing the things that they're telling you to do. I think we've seen plenty of examples of that lately in this world that we're living in right now. Get your information from multiple sources and perspectives. Don't trust anyone for information. Only trust your own information. And the only way you get your own information is these days you have to do a little bit of extra work. Go read the articles. Go get the information from other people. Then you can form a conclusion. What's going on, Sandy? Checking in from Tennessee. Open-minded, one mind opening situation is a better way I would say that. I remember the 2016 election was coming up, and we all know what happened in the 2016 election. That was Hillary against Trump. And it was indoctrinated into many of us who use social media that if Trump won, then it was going to be like the Holocaust all over again for anybody who wasn't a white male. And he won, and he was in for 4 years. And did it become the Holocaust? I don't think so. But the way that everything was put in front of us leading up to that election, and I felt susceptible to it, was like, damn, this is going to be like crazy for LGBTQ, for females, and for black people or any person of color. It didn't turn out that way. And what I found out when that happened and he won, and then I thought to myself, wait a minute, there's no way he can win, right? Because it's going to become the Holocaust all over again. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be like dangerous and deadly for people of color and for females and for people who are LGBTQ. It didn't happen. And then I had to go look at myself. I had to look in the mirror and say to myself, wait a minute, where did I get my information from? Or who was giving me information? Was I only hearing one side of a conversation? Because if he's as bad as they say he is, why would anybody vote for him? Like, how did he get half the country to vote for him if he's that terrible? That means either half the country is just racist and terrible and homophobic and misogynistic, either that, or maybe I just wasn't getting enough of the right information. Maybe not even the right information. Maybe I was getting too much of only one side of a conversation. I wasn't getting the other side. I wasn't being a critical thinker. So I had to go and look at myself and say, all right, what are my sources of information? Then I had to go start looking at different sources. Let me see what somebody says who actually was happy that Trump won. Let me see what they said. Let me hear somebody, not somebody who was trying to be incendiary, but somebody who was giving some logical, reasonable explanation for why he won and why it might be good. And when I started listening to those people and I started reading those people, I said to myself, okay, here's what happened here. I was the uninformed person. I wasn't being skeptical enough. I wasn't being curious enough. I was accepting everything I was hearing on face value. And there's no way that it could have turned out. There's no way that half the country could be racist and misogynistic and homophobic. Not half the country. Now, are there some people who are that? Absolutely. But 150 million people? Absolutely not. So I knew that I had to go get some different information. So that was a critical thinking lesson for me. So you, in your life, that skepticism of anything that you hear, you got to apply that not just to the people that you dislike or people that you don't know. You got to apply that skepticism to the people that you do know, because they're the ones that will most likely fool you because you're so used to trusting everything that they say. Skeptical people are always asking questions. Point number 3. The topic we're talking here today is critical thinking. We're going to talk critical thinking skills and habits of critical thinker after this point. Number 3, humility. What does humility mean when it comes on this subject? It means having a willingness to change your mind and change your opinions based on new information, new perspectives, new ideas. A critical thinker is always willing to change their mind, change their perspective, and change their opinion. Whereas sheep-minded people who are not critical thinkers, they decide on a perspective, they decide on a point of view, and they just stick with it no matter what happens. No matter what you say to them, no matter what questions you ask, no matter what information you put in front of them, they just stick to their same idea forever because they're not a critical thinker. Critical thinkers know that, listen, what I believed in 2017, that information may not be relevant anymore in 2021. Or maybe you got some new information, or maybe you got some new experiences in your life that, okay, what I thought 4 years ago was one thing, but this year I think something different because I have lived more life. I got four years of experience of life under my belt now that has changed the way that I look at things. Critical thinkers can change the way that they think about things, and they're open and talking about it because they're always thinking. Right? And guess what? Information is always changing. The world is always changing. Life is always changing. Things are not the same now that they were 10 years ago. So if you had the same opinions and beliefs in 2031 that you have right now in 2021, that means you are failing at thinking, period, let alone critical thinking. You're not thinking at all. Maybe you died. Or if you died, then it's okay to have the same beliefs. But if you're still alive, it makes no sense to have the same opinions now that you had 10 years ago, because you have 10 years of experience, 10 years of knowledge, 10 years of information, 10 years of taking in things that should shape and change the way that you look at things. There's no way you could only change your mind once over the course of 60 years of life. How do you on the planet for 60 years, you only change your mind one time? Like, you only learn something once? Doesn't make any sense. So critical thinkers are humble enough to change their mind when they realize that they had the wrong opinion or the wrong belief, and wrong is relative, where they just decide that their opinion needs to change based on some new information that they got. Because no human being is always right. No news network is always right. No person, no expert is always correct. We all have our own beliefs. Now, a belief and an opinion are two different things. A belief is something that you're just holding fast to because you have decided to look at things a certain way. An opinion should be 100% flexible. I mean, you could turn 180 degrees from a certain opinion to another opinion based on information that you take in on a consistent basis. So episode 735 of my show, I talk about keeping your opinions flexible. So now let's talk about signs of a critical thinker. I'm gonna tell you 4 things that critical thinkers do. Is it 4 or 3? 4 things that critical thinkers do, quickly. Number 1, you are not angered by views that are different from yours. A critical thinker does not get upset when someone has a different opinion from them. They actually should get excited and intrigued and curious when someone has a different opinion from them. Why? Because this person, who is clearly smart just like you are, they just looked at things different from you, which means you can learn something from talking to this person. See, critical thinkers, when someone disagrees with them, the first thing they do is they say, all right, well, let me engage with you and find out how you came to your conclusion and how it compares to my conclusion, and let's find out what we can each learn from each other. This is what critical thinkers like to do. Now, someone who's not a critical thinker, if you use social media, you'll see plenty of this right here. When they come across someone who has a different opinion from them, what's the first thing they do? Y'all tell me. Y'all use social media, and some of you might even be guilty of this. What's the first thing somebody does when they're not a critical thinker and someone has a different opinion from them? The first thing they do is they attack them. They say why you're wrong, why you need to stop talking, why you are abusing your platform, why you shouldn't be misinforming people, why you're just not upholding the standard, why you're not doing your job, why you need to shut up and dribble, why you need to shut up and rap. I guess now they talk Nicki Minaj, shut up and rap. Whatever it is that you're doing wrong, they're going to just call you out on doing the wrong thing. They will not engage with your actual point. They'll just try to attack you. They'll call you names, ostracize. Brandon said that. They'll just try to push you out of the conversation. They'll just try to push you out of the room and discredit you. If your voice is loud enough, they can't shut you up, and they'll just try to discredit you. So anything you say, people aren't supposed to listen to it. This is what people do when they're not critical thinking. Critical thinkers want to be challenged. They want to hear different ideas. They want to exchange information with people who have a different idea because, again, both people can learn at the exact same time. And critical thinkers do not do things like, let's say you make a point, right? And I've seen this, and Heather, I see you attack. Usually gets personal, exactly. I've seen people do this. Somebody will come into a conversation and they'll offer some point of view. And someone will challenge their point of view. And this non-critical thinking person who offered the initial point, they'll say something like, well, go look it up. Or go look it up. Or it's not my job to educate you. You need to go educate yourself. All right, that is BS. All right, that's an escape clause that people use when they don't have any actual substance behind their argument. They'll say, well, you need to go look it up or you need to go educate yourself. Listen, here's how it works with critical thinking, folks. If you state a point, it is your job to back it up and prove it. It's not somebody else's job to prove your point. So if you say something is true, then you have to prove that it's true. Don't send somebody else to go do the work that you clearly have not done. Because if you had done the work, like if I state something to be true, if I say the third day is the decision that separates the pros from the amateurs, and somebody says, well, how is that? I can't say, well, go look it up, go educate yourself. Like, I made the statement, so I'm going to defend the thing that I said. If you're not willing to defend what you said, then you're not being a critical thinker. And maybe, just maybe, what you're saying has absolutely no substance. And most of the time, this is the case. So never tell somebody they need to go look something up or educate yourself. There was this conversation I seen a football player. He was talking to a couple other guys. I guess it was on a podcast or something, but it was on YouTube. And he was saying NBA contracts are not guaranteed. And the other guys he was talking to said, well, yes, they are. And this guy got all hysterical. He's jumping up and down. He's yelling. He's standing up, raising his voice. No, they're not guaranteed. And then he said, go look it up. And I'm thinking to myself, when he made that statement, go look it up. Wait a minute. You said it. You have to prove it to us. I don't have to disprove your point. You have to prove the point that you made. Anytime you make a statement, you have to back it up. So critical thinkers, the first point. You're not angered by views different from yours. You're actually intrigued by them because maybe both of you can learn something. Point number 5, or the second trait of a critical thinker, You do not like when people start doing what Heather said there, and what Brandon said, start insulting other people for thinking different or having a conflicting point of view. When you have a bunch of critical thinkers in a room, you can have a whole bunch of different opinions, and there will be civil, respectful exchange and discussion because everybody can learn from other people. And when we question each other, maybe somebody will change their opinion. Maybe somebody can get some new information. But if all we're doing is, all right, shut up, you got the wrong opinion. Okay, clap for them, they got the right opinion. Then there's no thinking going on in that room. There's no thinking happening. Nobody's leading. Nobody's learning. And critical thinkers don't like rooms like that. Critical thinkers won't hang in places like that. You can appreciate differences in opinion without getting unglued, without getting angry, or not getting upset with people who have the quote unquote wrong opinion from what you have. Third point, third aspect of a critical thinker, you are fascinated by how things work. Critical thinkers want to go deeper into information. You give a critical thinker some useful, new information that they had never heard of before, they want to keep learning. They want to know more about what you know. They're going to keep asking you questions and go deeper and deeper and deeper into what you know. Why? Because critical thinkers are always thinking. All right, they want that. Thinking is like eating to a person who is overweight. All right, they just can't stop learning. They can't stop getting new information. Critical thinkers want to get more information from someone who is going to give them the information. What's going on, Krista? Good afternoon to you. Critical thinkers go the extra mile to learn the underlying why of things. Let me say that one again, and I'll explain it. Critical thinkers will go the extra mile to understand the why. They want to understand the underlying reasons behind something that happens. They don't just give me information. Like, I'm the type of person, you can't just give me information and expect me to accept it. I want to know, all right, how did you get that information? Where did you get it from? How do you know that it's true? Did you verify it? And what about if someone had the exact opposite opinion of what you just said? What do you say to them? I want to know all of those things. And I'm going to keep asking you questions until you answer. That's how I look at things as a critical thinker. Critical thinkers always want to know the who, what, where, why, and how of things. They don't just accept anything on the surface. And again, your school teachers and your parents should either be teaching you this, if we got anybody that's age, or they should have taught you this, or we got any parents who are listening to this, or any teachers who are listening to this, you should be telling your kids these things. Don't believe something that I said just because I'm your mom or your dad. Now, there's some things they should believe, but there's other things that you share because it's your perspective. Is because what you lived in your life, well, they didn't live your life. And you should tell them, look, you don't have to believe everything that I say. Go out and get your own information, get your own experience, come back, bring it to me. Let's talk about what you experienced. I'll talk about what I experienced, and then we'll see how we can each learn from each other. Again, not on every single topic. I mean, as a parent, some things is just, all right, this is what it is, and shut up. But on other topics, you want to teach your kids or students or whoever to be critical thinkers, to learn to think for themselves. There's going to come a point, parents, that your kids can't come to you to get answers to everything. They're going to have to learn to think for themselves when they go out into that world. So the better you can equip them to do that, the better they'll be ready for it when it happens. Again, key question of a critical thinker: how do you know? They're asking this question over and over and over again. How do you know? Where did you get that information? How do you know that it's true? What if someone had an opposite opinion? Critical thinkers are always asking these questions. Uncritical thinkers do not like being challenged. Critical thinkers love to be challenged. The last one. Fourth attribute of a critical thinker. You can and you want to have rational conversation and discussion with people with whom you disagree. Critical thinkers want to talk to people who don't see things the same way that they see them. They want people to challenge them on their points. They want to have that kind of conversation to where both sides can learn something because there's an exchange of information going on. If all you do is talk to people who have the same opinion as you, then that's fine. You will keep reinforcing your beliefs. The challenge is you're not going to learn anything because everybody has the same opinions. What if you talk to some people who don't have the same opinion as you? Then if that person is a critical thinker, even though they have a different opinion, they can still be a critical thinker. You can learn something, they can learn something, and you both get educated. Now you have the synergy. 1 + 1 = 3 at that point, because you have two people with different sets of information sharing with each other. That's where the exchange happens. This is how information comes to happen, is that people don't have the same perspective, but they share what they each know, and then new information can emerge from that. But we got to get critical thinkers together for that to happen. And you can't bring non-critical thinkers into that conversation. They will poison the entire thing and basically kill off the entire conversation, because as soon as they hear something they don't agree with, they start attacking. They start with the ad hominem attacks, and they start making things personal and try to shut people up for not having the same opinion as them. And unfortunately, we have way too many non-critical thinkers in our world these days that and many people are being groomed to not be critical thinkers. They're being groomed to just accept anything that they hear. And if you were to have this other opinion, look what they did to the last person who had that opinion. They got attacked, they got canceled, they got shut down, they got blocked, they got banned. You don't want that to happen to you, do you? Okay, then you better have the right opinion. That's the challenge with the lack of critical thinking that's happening in our world these days. When someone states a point and you challenge it and they immediately get mad, or they bail out of the conversation, or they try to change the subject, or they try to dance around whatever you challenge them on, then you know you're dealing with someone who's not a critical thinker. And unfortunately, like I just said, we got too many of those folks out here these days. So now let me recap what I just talked about. How to be a critical thinker. Let me give you the definition again of critical thinking. This comes from a website called study.com. Quote, critical thinking means making reasoned judgments that are logical and well thought out. It is a way of thinking in which you don't simply accept all arguments and conclusions you are exposed to, but rather have an attitude involving questioning such arguments and conclusions. It requires wanting to see what evidence is involved to support a particular argument or conclusion. People who use critical thinking are the ones who say things such as, how do you know that? Is this conclusion based on evidence or gut feelings? And are there alternative possibilities when given new piece of information? Close quote. Aristotle said, mark of an educated person is to accept an idea, is to hold an idea in their mind without accepting it. So, traits of critical thinkers. Number one, you are curious. You are always asking questions. Number two, you are a skeptic. You get your news from a variety of sources. You do not believe anything that is given to you on the surface, no matter who you got it from. And number three, you are humble. You have the humility to change your opinions and change your stance if and when you get new information, new perspectives, and new ideas. Signs of a critical thinker. Number one, you are never angered by someone having a different opinion from you. You do not personally attack them just because they don't think the same way that you think. You don't tell people to go look it up or educate themselves. When you state a point and they ask you how you know, you provide the evidence behind what you said. If you can't back it up, then you don't actually believe it. Number two, you do not like when people start insulting or making personal attacks on people just because they didn't have the same opinion. You know that that person's not a critical thinker. You don't jive with that person. By law of association, oil and water, you and that person do not mix. Number three, you are fascinated by how things work. You are always asking, how do you know? You are always asking, where'd you get that information? How do you know that it's true? Did you verify it? What about the opposite point of view? You're willing to ask these questions over and over again. You're willing to get uncomfortable in doing so. And you know that you're dealing with a non-critical thinker when someone gets mad at you for asking questions in this way. And number four, you can and you want to have rational conversation, not just attacking conversation, rational conversation with someone who has a different opinion from you, because you know it's an opportunity for you to teach them something and for them to teach you something. This is how information can be exchanged. This is how you don't have you're on this side or you're on that side. That's not the way life works. The way life works is everyone is free to think the way that they want to think, have whatever opinion they want to have, and with everyone is a critical thinker, we can all come together, exchange ideas. We do not have to agree, and it's not even agree to disagree. It's not even that. We don't have to agree, but what we will do is exchange. We will agree to exchange. I see things this way, you see things that way. We see where we fundamentally disagree. You think this point should be like this. I think this point should be like that, and that's fine. We have our own opinions. That's fine that we don't have the same perspective on things, yet we can still exchange information. This is what happens when you bring critical thinkers together. And when you bring non-critical thinkers together, you get a whole bunch of ad hominem attacks and people getting personal and people getting shut down, banned, blocked, not able to say whatever they want to say, muted, simply because they don't have the quote unquote correct opinion. All that being said, if there are any questions or comments, go ahead and post it in the comment section. I will address them right now. By the way, this is my free book. It's called The Third Day. You can get this by going to thirddaybook.com. I see a paperback copy, free paperback of the book. All you're going to do is help us out by covering the shipping. Again, thirddaybook.com. And, it's right there. And I have a live event coming up in January. It is called Work on Your Game Live. It's a 2-day event in Miami. Day 1 is leadership. Day 2 is communication. That is, again, that website is workonyourgame.live. That's the link in my bio. If you want to come to my live event, the link is in my bio. Workonyourgame.live is the website. Not .com, but .live. We own .com too, but .live is the website. Let's see if we got any Ocean Waves 111. I appreciate that. Somebody said DMX had a heart attack after the vax. I didn't know. I know he passed away, but I don't know what he passed away of. I don't think I ever heard. Grace Man said, I've always been a critical thinker. That's what's up. ASAP J Dub was good. Bree Brown 35, how are you? Flintville, Tennessee is in the building. Tim said, love waking up every morning to the text messages. That's what's up. Y'all want to get my text messages, I'm going to post the number right here. That's the number where I send my text every day, 305-384-6894. So if you want to get my daily text, all you got to do is just send a hello to that number right there, and you'll get my daily motivation text. I send that out every morning. Today's went out already, so if you text me right now, you'll get it tomorrow. Brandon Joseph was good. H to the MC, what's going on? Chosen Beauty by Krista was good. Bryce says, how I quickly know someone isn't a critical thinker when they try to prove their points by what they saw or heard on the news. Dead giveaway. Yeah, that is a dead giveaway. We used to be able to trust the news. We can't trust them anymore because everybody had to pick a side. So now we can't trust them anymore because they all had to play the game, unfortunately, which means we all got to do extra work to get information. I appreciate you, Heather. Oh, yeah, that's the number, 305-384-6894. Brandon said, I had a nurse on Facebook act unfriendly when I didn't agree with the vaccine mandate. Do your job. Yeah, that's crazy. And as a matter of fact, some people who work in healthcare are not. I know some people who work in healthcare who don't want to get vaccinated, and they don't like being forced to get vaccinated. So there's a big challenge going on now just based off that they're trying to mandate for certain people in certain jobs and all that. But down here in Florida, we got plenty of freedom down here. So any of y'all who's looking for, I mean, it ain't like it's no mandate, because again, you work in healthcare, then you might have to get it. But otherwise, we're pretty open down here, and the weather's nice. And I'm having Work on Your Game live here in January, so it's a perfect reason for you to come down here. WorkOnYourGame.live is that website. So everybody, yes, I agree with you, Krista. You shouldn't have to be forced. I think the biggest thing with the whole mandate that the government and the media together, because the media kind of is working for the government now. They're not supposed to work for the government. They're supposed to hold the government accountable, but they don't do that anymore. They work for the, what do you call it? The liberal government. The media works for the liberal government. I think we all can agree with that. Even if you like it, you can agree to that. What they did was try to tell people that you're wrong for not doing it and then try to force it upon people or shame you if you don't do it. They should not have done that. What they should have did, if the government was a little bit smarter and they weren't so bureaucratic, they had too many people there, so they had to do it. They had to do it this way because they got to work by groupthink. If they were smarter, this is what they would have done. They would have came out and just educated people. They would have had Biden or Fauci, whoever, some scientists come out and they would have talked about everything, like the positive and the negative. They would have said, look, the reason why we were able to get this vaccine out so fast is because we have better technology. All right, we're just smarter now than we were 20 years ago or 30 years ago. So it doesn't take us 3 years to get a vaccine out now. We can get it out in 8 months simply because we have better science. And maybe that's true. I'm just making these up. But let's just say that's the case. They should have came out and said that. Then they would have said, with that said, are there any side effects to the vaccine? Because some people might not want to get it because they heard that somebody might have a side effect. And say, you know what? Out of every 30,000 shots that we give out, 3 people got side effects. So 3 out of 30,000 got a side effect. This person got this and this. This person got paralyzed. This person lost their hair. This person got sick and they died. All right, that was 3 out of 30,000. So is there a chance that if you get this vaccine, there's a possible side effect you can get? Yes. Here are the possible side effects that we know. Here are the ones that we documented. They should have told everybody the good and the bad. That's what they should have did. Now, if anybody has a negative side effect, you got to go find it on a back channel, or somebody says it out loud. People say, well, that's fake news. And then they're trying to discredit you for even saying anything. When we know if you put medicine in a person's body, every human being is unique. Every body is unique. So if you put the same medicine in 30,000 people, and let alone 300 million people, of course, there are going to be side effects. Of course, some people are going to have adverse reactions to it. Of course, some people might even die, God forbid, from getting the vaccine. That doesn't mean that the vaccine is killing everybody. Doesn't mean the vaccine is giving everybody a negative side effect. It may only be a small percentage. The dumbest thing that the government and the media did was try to act like it doesn't happen at all. They should have just told everybody, yo, this is what happened. This could happen. This could happen. This could happen. Here's the chances of it happening. Look, here's the actual data. Here's somebody who had a bad effect. Here's somebody who had a good effect. A bunch of people who had a good effect. We want to give you the positive and the negative. We want to give you all the information you want. They should have had an open town hall and let like 100 people come in and let each person ask a question, and let Fauci and Biden and whoever's in charge, Biden, Harris, Fauci, whoever, let them ask questions. Let the people just ask you a direct question. Put it on TV, put it on YouTube, let everybody see it, let everybody ask all their questions and answer everything. The good questions, the bad questions, the stuff that makes the vaccine look perfect, the stuff that makes it look questionable, and then say to people, look, we're going to let everybody decide on their own if you want to get this. And here's the stats. The people who get it, here's the people who are now more safe, and here's the chances of you dying or getting sick based on getting it. Here's the chance of people who don't get it. Here's the chance of you dying and getting sick based on if you get it or not. They should have put all the information out there, lay it down on the table, and let people decide for themselves. I guarantee they would have got more people to take the shot had they did it that way than the way that they're doing it right now. It might have taken a little bit longer because the people would have had time to think about it. But the way they're doing it now is, I would say about, of all the people who are vaccinated now, I would say maybe like 40%, I'll say about 40% of people wanted it. About 40% of people wanted the vaccine. They want to go get it. Like my parents are over 60. Both of my parents still alive. They both wanted the vaccine. As soon as they were eligible to get it, they went and got the vaccine. They wanted it. I would say about 40% of people wanted the vaccine. Like as soon as they could, they went and got it. Then I would say another 20%, they knew that they needed it, but they wanted to get more information first. Like my grandma is obviously older than my mom. She's like 80 something years old. I don't even know how old my grandma is. She's 80 something. My mom's 60 something. My grandma's 80 something, maybe close to 90. She didn't get it at first. She was a little bit hesitant, but she wanted to get more information. She went and got it. So I would say about 20% of people wanted to think about it for a minute. They wanted to see how it worked out. Then they went and got it. The other 40% of people who got the vaccine, the other 40% who have the jab right now, you only got it because somebody made you get it. Either you're in school or your job or your school said you had to, you didn't have a choice, and you had to go to work or you had to go to school, so you just said, forget it, I'm gonna go get it. So you got it against your will. Or you got shamed into it, maybe by somebody in your family, maybe somebody who told you, well, you just keep seeing messages on social media, if you don't get the vaccine, you're killing people, and you believed it, and you basically got shamed into it because of the information that you're taking in, and the people that you're surrounded with, your associates, made you feel like you are a bad person because you didn't get the vaccine. So, or you saw all your friends on Instagram, they went and got it, so now you wanted to go get it so you could be part of the group. You didn't want to be socially ostracized, so you went and got it. I say about 40% of people who are vaccinated right now only got it because they got shamed into it. 20% waited and then they got it, and 40% actually wanted it and they got it because they actually wanted to get the jab on their own, based on their own volition. That's how I feel about it. And I think the government and media messed it up by trying to make it a one-sided conversation and ignoring the possible side effects, ignoring people's questions, ignoring the fact that black people feel like they can't trust the government. And check this out. Just last summer, right? Summer of 2020, we know we had Breonna Taylor, we had George Floyd, you had all the protests and all that stuff. And all of this stuff, and the liberal media pumped this up and talked it up, and even Biden and Harris in their campaign, they were still running against Trump. What they do all last year, they talked about how, and the media as well, how the government has been so bad to black people, right? The government's been bad to black people since slavery and 400 years, and they're killing us in the streets, and we can't trust the cops, and we can't trust the government, and it's systemic oppression, systemic racism. All they did was tell black people all last year how bad the government is against black people, how bad Trump is, and how terrible the government is. Even Biden, when he wins, he's like, yeah, the government's been so bad to black people, we gave them a raw deal, we got to fix this, and all this stuff. All they did was indoctrinate black people and tell them how bad the government is. And then what do they do in 2021? First thing they tell you to do is trust the government and put some medicine in your body and get a shot. You just spent the whole year telling us how terrible the government has been to black people. And then the first thing you do when you get the job is tell us to trust you. What sense does that make? Now me, being a critical thinker, I didn't believe them last year and I don't believe them this year. But can you tell me that everybody thinks like that? I would say out of 330 million people in America, and how many black people? They say it's what, 12% black. So let's just say 40 million black people. How many of them you think look at it like that? I'd say it's a good percentage of them, but not all of them. I'd say about half of black people was just buying it hook, line, and sinker. Look, they was out there protesting. Y'all saw it on TV. It ain't like it was a sparsely populated protest. It was thousands of people out there. So they bought into this. All right, the government's terrible against us. America's terrible to us. We don't trust America at all. And then as soon as Biden comes in, trust us. Get the vaccine. It's safe. All right, look, I'm going to get it on TV. So who are you supposed to believe? All right, they'll tell you whatever they want to tell you for political expediency, whatever's going to serve their purpose in the moment. It is not about actually giving you truthful information. It's all playing a game, and the problem is we're the ones getting played. All right, they know exactly what they're doing. They're playing the people like pawns, and it's unfortunate is the best word that I can use for it. MJ 3 times. Look me up on YouTube. That's not the topic here today. H says the messaging has been horrible about all of it from the gov. Yeah, it has. They fumbled it. I mean, actually, to them, they think they've done it perfectly, Heather. They think they've done a great job because they are telling everybody go get it. And right now is like 76% of people got it, at least eligible people. Krista, appreciate it. Grice says, you really expect them to be that honest? No, I'm saying, no, I don't expect them to be honest, Grice. My point is, like I said, they can't do this because there's too many people in the government. And at this point today, they're too far gone. They've gone so far down that road that they can't turn around now. They basically have nailed themselves into a position, backed themselves into a corner. What I'm saying is if they really wanted to get everybody to get the vaccine, like the people who are like, I'm not getting it right now, the people who are saying they're not getting it, part of the reason is I would say, let's just say all the people that are not getting the vaccine right now, right? This is the way I look at it. Let's say 100% of people who don't get it and they say, I'm not getting it. I would say about 10% of those people, just 10% are people who are actually reading data, reading graphs, reading charts and saying, all right, well, based on this data, I'm not going to get it. And then they're cross-referencing different charts and different data, and they're reading scientific studies and journals. That's not 10%. I say about 2% of people are doing that. The rest of the people are looking at it like, first of all, the big part of people not wanting to get it, and I can even include myself in this, at least partially, is you're not going to tell me what I had to do with my body. Like, I am against being told what I have to do. I'm an entrepreneur. All right, I have a disagreeable streak in me that if you tell me to do something just out of sheer perversity, then I'm going to hesitate to do it just because you told me I have to. Like, nobody tells me what to do. And the government, nobody. The only way somebody can tell me what to do is if I'm in jail, then I guess I got to listen to the correctional officers. But other than that, you're not going to tell me what I have to do with my body, just on principle alone. Secondly, you got a good number of people who are young and healthy, and they're like, look, if I get it, I'll take my chances. I think I can beat it. And the data shows that for the most part, you probably will. Now, the only thing you hear about, though, are the people who don't beat it. Like, this guy's 30 years old. He's a trainer. He got big muscles. And look at him. He's in the hospital hanging on for dear life because he got COVID. And then they're trying to scare everybody else. So, see, just because you're healthy doesn't mean you can't get it. It doesn't mean you can't die. But what about the other 50,000 people who got it and they never went to the hospital, didn't even know they had COVID, and they survived? What about those people? Like, I was sick like 2 months ago. I don't know what it was. I was sick for like 4 or 5 days. But I didn't stay in the house. I didn't lay in bed. I didn't go to the doctor. I wasn't feeling bad. It was like a cold, the nose running and all that stuff, coughing, sneezing. But I kept doing all my normal stuff, and then it went away. Maybe that was COVID. Maybe it wasn't. I haven't been tested for an antibody, so who knows what the hell it was. But I survived it. And 99% of people who get COVID survive. They don't go to the hospital. They don't go to the doctor. They don't take any medicine. I don't take medicine. I didn't take anything. And that was it. It was done. So why are they not telling those stories? Because then it would go against their narrative. But the problem is 99% of what's happening is like that. But they're not talking about that. And this is leading people to be like, wait, y'all not even giving us all the information. But now we're supposed to trust you just on the parts that you want to tell us. It doesn't make any sense. Krista says, not everyone can take shots and tolerate it, including myself. I have 3 autoimmune diseases. Right. So that's another part of it. Some people like really cannot do it. So then these are the type of people who might get like a medical exemption. And here's the thing, that they're even trying to block the medical exemptions now. Now they're trying to say you can't get a medical exception, like your doctor. And I've even heard, from what I heard, that there are many doctors out there who are telling their patients, like, this is my personal doctor. They're saying, I will not do a medical exemption for anybody. Like, I'm not doing any medical exemptions because maybe the government has come to them and said, yo, you're not allowed to do a medical exemption, or whoever their governing body. I don't know how the doctor world works, but somebody has told them you can't do it. You are not allowed to give medical exemptions in certain places. I think it was in New York. They were saying medical exemptions are out, like you can't have it. So there's a whole lot of trickery going on that is really just sending things backwards. Honestly, that's the best way I can say it. Yes, you got it right, Krista. It's everybody's body. Now, the counter argument to that, because we are critical thinkers here, the counter argument to that is that there are vaccines for other stuff that other people have been forced to get. Somebody wrote me on LinkedIn saying something like this, as I posted an article about it last week. And the thing that I said was, the last time I got a vaccine, the last time I personally received a vaccine, I don't even remember. I had to be when I was in high school, maybe. Like, I don't even... Personally, I don't even go to the doctor. I'm not the type of person who goes to a doctor. Now, maybe as I get older, I guess I'll need to go to a doctor to make sure everything is good internally. But I don't remember the last time I took a vaccine shot. I can't remember. The last time I even had a needle in my arm, it was like, you know how they draw blood or something like that. But I can't remember the last time I received any type of vaccination. Maybe when I was in college, maybe. I don't even remember any other time that I got a vaccine. So people saying, well, you got to get shots to do this, like to go to school or things like that. But yeah, that's for little kids going to school who don't have a choice in what they do with their body. And the other thing is, then we had the abortion thing came up, right, in Texas, where they got this new law and they're trying to block abortion in Texas. Well, if the whole thing is my body, my choice for abortion, then how is it not your body, your choice when it comes to the vaccine? I mean, how can you have it two different ways when it comes to that? It's your choice to abort a pregnancy, but it's not your choice whether or not you get some chemicals or whatever it is put into your body, and you don't even know what it is. At least when you get an abortion, you know exactly what you're doing. All right, when you get an abortion, from what I heard, is you go in there and they actually show you. They do the sonogram. They show you what's inside of you, and they say, "All right, are you sure you want to do this? Look at it. Are you sure you want to do this?" And you say yes or no. You know exactly what you're doing when you get an abortion. When you get the vax, what's in that syringe? You don't know what it is. You can't even spell half the things being put that are in that shot. You can't spell them. You couldn't, if you were in the spelling bee, you would lose in the first round. When you have to spell the first drug, you don't know what it is. And you're supposed to just take that. But it's your body, your choice when it's time to get an abortion. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, they should have laid all this stuff out. They should have had a scientist who is able to speak regular person language, who can dumb things down. They should have had them list every single ingredient in the vaccine shot, put it on a website, and then go on a YouTube video so everybody can watch it, and then explain every single piece. I don't care if it took an hour and a half. All right, this drug is called this. What this does is, and then explain it. Explain exactly what that drug is and why it exists and why it's part of the vaccine. They should have had somebody come do this so everybody has all the information. So nobody can say it's disinformation. You know, Facebook is tagging things disinformation. That is, what's the other things they've been saying? Fake news, whatever. There wouldn't be none of that. Have the government put out all the information, the pros and the cons, everything, and just lay it out flat on the table and let people draw their own conclusions. That's what they should have did. Because again, you're dealing with adults here. We're not talking about kids going to school and you got to go get a shot and you don't even know what it is, but your mom said do it, so you do it. We talking about grown men and women here. You can't just tell people to go put something in their body, especially in this day and age when you got people who are vegan, people who are clean eating, people who won't eat at certain restaurants because they want to know what's in all the food. Like, people are so conscious of what they put in their bodies these days. And I'm not talking about athletes, just people that you're just going to tell them just put this in your body just because. That doesn't make any sense. And how are you going to get any rational thinking person to go along with that? And the answer is you can't. And again, a bunch of the people who got the vaccine only got it under duress, meaning I can't go to school if I don't get this, or I can't go to my job if I don't do this, or I'm going to get fired, or my friends are going to shame me, my parents are going to shame me, my grandma is saying I'm going to kill her if I don't get the vaccine, so I got to go get the vaccine. And that's the reason why so many people got it. I say about 40% of people who got the shot got it based on something like that, not based on their own volition or their own thinking. And that's unfortunate. It's been forced on people. Hopefully the vaccine is great and nothing happens to those people. Something's going to happen to some people simply because, like I said, just by the law of averages, it has to. But this is where I think the government, combined with the media is part of this too. They kind of screwed this whole thing up. And now they created these two sides. They created these factions. And now there's no turning back. That's the way I see it. There's no turning back. The only good outcome, the best possible peaceful outcome of this is that they just stop pushing it and stop pushing the vaccines and stop pushing mandates and stop blocking unvaxxed people from being able to do stuff. They just let it go. They just drop it and stop talking about it. That's the best possible outcome. Right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, but things can change fast. So that's the way I see it. That's my hope, is that they just drop it and let it go. But if they try to start mandating it, or you can't fly, or you can't go to the grocery store, if you don't have the that's going to lead to problems. I don't know if y'all have seen the stuff they've been doing in other countries. Y'all see the riots in Australia, in France, in the UK. I don't think it was riots in the UK, but protests. It's been a lot of stuff like crazy. So hopefully it doesn't come there. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. I'm not much for protesting, honestly, but this is one that I might be involved in. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. I'm gonna just keep saying that it doesn't come to that, but hope is not a strategy. So we're gonna see where things go here. But I think I've talked enough, y'all. I got some work to do here. Again, Work on Your Game Live, workonyourgame.live is the website. You want to come to my live event. It is in Miami, January 21st and 22nd. Leadership on day 1, communication on day 2. Get the book the third day, thirdaybook.com. That is the link right down there. I will be putting this video on YouTube, so it'll probably go up like next week or something like that. Work on Your Game podcast every single day. Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play. It does come out on YouTube, but they come out later on YouTube. If you want the up-to-date, everyday episode, listen on the audio apps. Spotify, Apple, Google Play, SoundCloud, all that. Everybody, you love to protest? I've never done a protest in my life. I've never participated in a protest. But this one right here, this one might be one worth getting involved in. But hopefully it doesn't come to that. I'm going to keep saying that. Now, hopefully it does not come to that. So everybody, y'all have a good Saturday. Hit me in the DM. You got any questions, anything I can help you with, or send me a text in my text line. Just hit the text button on my profile on Instagram. Work on your game. Dre all day. We out of here.